All right, but
All right, welcome to another edition of In Conversation. And boy, today do we have a guest. This guy is always full of good conversation. None other than Mr. John Corabi. Welcome.
how are you?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for having
All right. Well, you've been busy doing a lot of stuff here. Why don't you fill us in on some of the stuff that's going on in your neck of the woods over there?
Well, I got new music out, new song called Casi Bella. Um, just flew back from LA a few days ago and finished the audio book portion of my new book. And just hanging out here. I'll show your viewers. Just hanging out here at this lovely lake in Tennessee. And I'm taking my motor home back home very shortly. But life is good, dude.
All right. Well, why don't we start with the single there? Tell us about the new song and how it came to be.
It was actually I've had it in my back pocket for a little bit. I started working on it when Marty and I were doing the pre-writing for the writing of the Burn It Down album with the Daisies. And obviously, if you've heard Beatles and tone to it, which was a little bit out of the Dead Daisies wheelhouse or the parameters of that band. So I just put it away. And then 2020, we obviously know COVID hit. And so Marty went his way, I went my way. You know, we were trying to just be socially distant with the COVID thing. So I took some Pro Tools classes and learned how to use Pro Tools. And I basically, now we've got a little system where I'll record stuff at my house slowly, I might add. And then I take it as far as I can take it. And then I email everything to Marty, and he just kind of finishes it for me. So we're getting a great response from the song on all the streaming sites, which is all new voodoo to me. I don't know how that, whatever, but it seems to be going really well now. You know, it's just kind of picking up a little steam each day. It's just steady, like the little engine that could. It's just steadily rolling and picking up new followers and new playlists and new whatever along the way. So I'm pretty pleased.
How'd you come up with the interesting title?
Well, if you look at the title, it says Casi Bella, and then in parentheses, so beautiful. And if you listen to the chorus, it's honestly just so beautiful. But the more I looked at the title, I was looking at my lyrics in the top of the page. I wrote "so beautiful," and I'm like, that's kind of a boring title. So I went onto my phone and I looked in a translation app, and I typed in "so beautiful" in English, and then I just started hitting like French, German, like whatever. And oddly enough, Italian came up, and I thought it had a little ring to it. Casi Bella. So I went, you know what? I'll go with that. So I put that on the lyrics. But then it was funny. I was playing the song for some close friends and fans, and they were all like, what does that mean? So I went, you know what? Here's what I need to do. Casi Bella, and then in parentheses, so beautiful. So I think I covered all the bases. Not sure. And it makes me sound worldly.
So is this part of an album that's eventually going to come out?
Yeah, I'm working on it. That was the thing. Marty actually talked with me about all of this stuff. And he was like, for lack of a better term, he was kind of the catalyst for me doing it this way. And he said, instead of rushing to get an album done, he said, let's just do like 3, 4, 5 singles, put them out there every month and a half, 2 months or so. And then while you're finishing the rest of the record. Then you can really pick the 10 best songs. You know what I mean? You're not just throwing something together because you need to get a record out. And the other thing is, he's like, dude, nobody's really selling records. And then we started looking at it and, you know, looking at my solo records that I've sold in the past. And even the Dead Daisies stuff, to a degree, it was like, we either sold the records on our own personal websites, Amazon, or at the shows. So he goes, dude, just take your time, do a song, promote it, build your following, and then release another single and another video and build your following and just keep going and then release the whole record. So ultimately, I think I would like to do like 3 or 4 songs and then hit everybody with vinyl, CDs, cassettes, 8-track, maybe a stone tablet with the lyrics. I don't know, whatever, but we'll figure it out. I'm figuring it out as I go, buddy.
Yeah, it can't hurt this in this day and age with the way the music business is. That's for sure.
It's a new world, and if I sat here and told you I know exactly what I'm doing, I'd be lying through my teeth. So I'm just kind of looking at what other people are doing, and you know, I'm kind of making adjustments on the fly. You know what I mean? I'm recording this stuff on my own, giving it to Marty, having him help me and finish it. And then like the videos, I'm recording them on my own with a buddy of mine, Chris Romero, and just kind of figuring it out as I go. But this seems to be the way to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
are you one of these guys that feel it's better to just to put out an album of 10 good songs or just fill it up with whatever you can fit on there?
well, you lost me at fill it up with whatever.
Well,
You know,
the CD age, you know how like all these record companies were always cramming on 14, 15 songs, and a lot of it was just filler. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I don't want to do that. Like some of my favorite records, if you really go back and look at you know, uh, for example, Aerosmith Rocks. I think there's 8 songs on that record. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like if there's something, I'm not going to put something out unless I feel it's right. Like there's the next song that I'd like to follow up with. I'm not sure if I'll have it done in time. It's a brand new idea that I just kind of came up with. And and when I say just came up with, I mean over the last few months or so. But it's like I'll record it and then I walk away from it for a minute and I listen to it and I go, it's not right yet. And then I erase it and then I start over again with a, you know, maybe a different chorus or different verse, or and then I listen to it and I go, nope. So I've probably recorded and re-recorded and rewritten this song 4 or 5 times, but it's not right. So I don't even want anybody to hear it unless I can walk away from it and go, this is killer. Do you know what I mean? And if I feel like it's killer, then when I get on the phone with you or I do an interview with anybody, then I'm not faking it. I'm not trying to tell you that the song is the greatest song ever when I believe it's only halfway there. You know what I mean? So I'd rather just take my time, release, and then once I have all the record done, you know, 10 killer tracks, then I'll release a record. I'll do the vinyl. You know what I mean? So I've got a bunch of stuff in the can already that I think is really, really good. And it's awesome. I'm ready to release them at any time. But you know, that's just how I operate. I can't, because I go back now and I listen to a few of my old records and I listen to the lyrics or I listen to maybe the melody that I'm singing and I go, oh God, I wish I could have done that over. But I was also in a band with 3 or 4 other guys, and it was like majority rules. And they said, "Nah, dude, I like it. It's good. Let's put it to bed."
Hmm.
So, you know, I don't want
Yeah.
to. I don't want to rewrite. I don't want to spend 8 or 10 years like Chinese democracy, but I'm going to. You know, I've got a bunch of stuff, like I said, already in the can, ready to go, and I'm still coming up with new ideas. So, like this new one that I was just telling you about, I listened to everything that I have, and I go, "Wow, this one came out in left field. I really like this one, so I'll put that one in and pull this one out, and then work on that one a little more." You know what I mean? So it's a process.
Well, speaking of, you just had gone back there and mentioned like some of the albums you listened to in the past of your own there. Looking back at the Crew album, obviously, what is your favorite track off that album and why? Do you have one?
I mean, it's hard to pick one off of any record that I've done, but if I had to, I would probably say, only because of all of the layers on it and all of the different things that were on it, I would have to say Misunderstood, um, because of just even some of the underlying guitar parts, the vocals. We had Glenn Hughes on there. Um, just the fact that we had a live 53-piece orchestra in the studio with us. Um, just everybody at that point, creatively and playing wise, was firing on all cylinders. And I think that one kind of, you know, encapsulates, or I just think that one really just represents the musicality
Hmm.
of that album.
Gotcha. All right. Now, when you went on tour back in '94 there, how did you guys arrive at which songs of the old catalog to play? Was that a group choice? Somebody else made the decision, or just songs that you felt you sounded the best on, or
Well, and that was my first little bickering session with Nikki. Um, they gave me the opportunity as the singer. Um, what would I do? And I put a set list together, what I thought I felt comfortable with. And Nikki was kind of horrified to a degree, because one of the songs that was left off of the list was Girls, Girls, Girls. And, you know, much to Tommy's credit, Nikki and I were, I don't want to say arguing, but we were debating. Um, Nikki was like, "Dude, that's one of our biggest hits." And I'm like, I know it is, but I don't feel comfortable singing it. I've never been that guy. And then Tommy kind of pulled Nikki aside and said, "Dude, like, you know, he's the one that's got to sing the shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to make it believable. And if he's not into it, then that's it. Let's just put it to bed." Um, and then there was other things too that they didn't want to do. Like, they didn't want to do some of the covers that they did, like Helter Skelter or Jailhouse Rock. Tommy was adamant. He's like, "I do not." He goes, "I've done it for 20 years. I do not want to do Red Hot. So don't pick that one."
hmm,
And I was like, "Okay." You know, so I was taking notes from them as well. And then I said, "Okay, well, I really like Livewire. I really like Shout at the Devil. I love Wild Side. I still think that that's a good representation of the band's past. Primal Scream was my favorite, hands down. And then we did Feel Good, Kickstart. And then we did an acoustic set, which was totally came together on a fluke. And we did you know, a different version of Home Sweet Home. And we did Don't Go Away, Mad, Just Go Away. And you know, so I thought we kind of touched quite a few of their records. and then, you know, 3, 4, 5 of the new ones. And it you know, I thought it was a pretty, you know, for the most part, I thought it was a pretty strong set that showed little pieces of Motley throughout their whole career, right up into the current moment
Mhm.
of 1994.
So a lot of comments and stuff I see, even to this day, a lot of people feel that the self-titled album that you're on, that is the best album the band ever made. And with the way music was going at that point, you got how the grunge set in and everything, but you guys kind of evolved with that album. And yet, what what happened? You figure you sounded like you guys fit right into what was going on in the music scene, yet for some reason you didn't get to capitalize on it like you should have, because you guys were that album is amazing.
I appreciate it, you know, and I'll just chalk it up to a few things. You know, first of all, the music industry was changing. And at the time, the bands that were very successful um, were the antithesis of everything that Motley had done up to that point. Um, so the music industry was changing. Um, Shortly after, and when I say shortly, I'm talking a matter of weeks after our record coming out, um, everybody at our record label got fired. Literally 53 or 56 people were released, including the president of the label, Bob Krasnow. And the other thing was just for, and I think this is common knowledge, so I'm not really saying anything that's, you know, shocking or, you know, not able to be proven. If you go back and you look at a lot of the videos or interviews that we were doing at the time, um, Tommy, Nikki, and Mick made it. They pretty much drew an imaginary line in the sand with their words and their actions, and they, you know, basically made the fans choose either Vince or us. Um, and I think that it really divided the fan base. Where maybe if we would have just been a little more subdued in our answers or quiet, um, maybe we wouldn't have alienated so many people. So, you know, the not to get off subject, but the title of my book is called Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. And if you're familiar with the term horseshoes and hand grenades, it's like you don't have to be on the money, you just got to be close. Um, I have been the king of my entire career being at the right place, but at the wrong time. And that 5 years or 4.5 or almost 5 years with Motley, that was just one of those examples of being at the right place, but at the wrong time.
Speaking of another band that you were in down the road there, Ratt. Man, a lot of people kind of forget you were in Ratt, it seems like nowadays, but you were there for about 8 years.
Yes.
Amazing. So whatever happened? Why did you guys, under that whole time period when you were in the band, how come you never got around to making any albums?
Um, to be honest with you, it was their thing. Um, if I can just be completely frank,
Mhm.
at that point, I had done the Scream, obviously Motley, um, and Union. Um, and the outcomes of all of those bands, not musically or creatively, but the outcomes, the acceptance or whatever, was less than stellar. Let's just put it that way. It's common knowledge. Um, and I ran into Bobby Blotzer at a place called the Key Club in LA. And initially, Bobby asked me to sing for them. But having done the Motley thing, I'm like, no, I think I'm going to pass on this one. I'm good. And then just in talking, he said, yeah, we got to find like a singer and a guitar player. So I thought about it like briefly, and I went, well, I play guitar, right? And so he relayed that to Warren, and I went over to Warren's house. I literally did one solo with him, the guitar solo to Round and Round. And Warren was like, yeah, okay, great, whatever, you're in. And they were looking at it like, great, we got a solid rhythm player, a guy that can play some leads with Warren. But the coolest thing was they were just thinking, wow, our backing vocals are going to be bolstered with this extra voice. And so I took the gig, and honestly, if I can be frank, it was just a way for me to continue playing music, travel the world, and stand in the shadows and not have to worry about how many records were sold, how many tickets were sold, how many t-shirts were sold. It just kind of gave me a mental break for a little bit. Because prior to that, I had done, like I said, the Scream, Motley, and Union, and nothing was really quite working out as planned. So I took a little bit of a break. I kind of took my time, rediscovered my love of writing music and being my own guy. And then, 2008, 2009, I started putting a band together and started getting songs together, and decided it was time to start worrying about records, tickets, and t-shirts.
Now, one last thing on Ratt there. So obviously you were on the 2007 tour when Steven came back there to take back over his job there. Was it a different band with him back up front singing? Did it seem different for you on there?
No, not really. I mean, I had a great time with Jizzy. We had a lot of, listen, for the 8 years, I had a blast with those guys. The problem wasn't really me getting along with any member of the band. That was never the issue. My problem with leaving was they got offered a record deal. And for the 8 years that I was in the band, even when Jizzy was there, Ratt was just constantly bickering and fighting within. Now, in the beginning, it was just Warren and Bobby. Warren would say, Bob, you're playing the songs too fast. And Bobby would go, you're playing them too slow. And they would go back and forth. And then meanwhile, our crew guy, Craig, and me, Robbie, and Jizzy would go get a sandwich, go home and make a bundt cake, and like literally shave, shit, and shower, and then come back, and they'd still be arguing about the tempos of the songs. Well, then, 6 or 7 years later, Steven comes into the mix, and it was still the same thing, but it was without sounding derogatory, but it was always just a pissing contest between the original members. And I we did the last tour with Steven. One of the last shows we did was at the House of Blues in LA, and we got offered the record deal. I flew back to Nashville, and I just had I don't want to say a panic attack, but I was just sitting there going, oh shit, like they want us to go somewhere for like 3 months and like live together, write together, and record together a new album. And personally, I just went, these guys can't get through a fucking rehearsal without wanting to kill each other. I can't do this. So I just went, I called them on the phone. I go, yep, I'm out. And they were shocked. They're like, dude, we just got a record deal. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm still out. whatever. And and as it turned out, they just bickered and fought with each other through the whole thing. So,
Yeah.
until they realized that, and all of them, again, I love Warren separately. I love Bobby separately. I love Steven separately. I even love Juan separately. I know all of those guys. But until they realize that it's not 1985 anymore, or not 1987 anymore, the fans would like to see the original guys do their thing, go out and play the songs that everybody grew up listening to, and check your egos at the door, guys. It doesn't matter. It's not Steven alone. It's not Warren alone. It's not Bobby alone. It's not Juan alone. It's Ratt. Figure it out. Figure out how to make it work, just like Motley, and go out and do your thing. Fans would be nothing but happy if you could just put your differences aside and just go out on stage and play for an hour and a half, 2 hours a night, and then go to the next city and do the same thing without flipping each other off behind stage or whatever. Just make it work.
Yeah.
And I love those guys to death, but I mean, look at them right now. Steven's like, all right, if we're going to do Ratt, let's do Ratt. Let's get the 4 guys in a room and make it happen. Let's write a record or do a record and get out and tour as Ratt. And I've seen some interviews he's done recently, and it's like, it's just, they just shoot themselves in the foot all the time. And it's sad, but I just didn't want any part of it.
Can't do it. I hear you. I think a lot of people's got to understand too. Now is the time to be doing this, because you don't know what the future holds. It's to that point now where
I don't know how old. I think me, Bobby, and Warren are the same age. I imagine Juan is. I don't know how old Steven is, but it's like, come on, guys! Like, you guys put a lot of miles on yourselves in the '80s, and you've been fighting and bickering. Put it aside, eat your veggies, and fucking just go out there and make this happen for the fans. Because we're looking at people now that are, these musicians that abused themselves back in the day. They're in their late 60s, early 70s, and they look like they're 90, myself included. And it's like, come on, we're closer to the end than we are the beginning. So put your shit aside and go out and go tour and play the Way Cool Juniors and Rounds and Lack of Communication, lay it down, and just go out and give the fans, a couple more last hurrahs. Call it a day, man. Shut the fuck up and just play.
All right. Well, obviously, you went and joined the Dead Daisies a little while after, about 5 years after leaving Ratt there. How was that on stage there? It seemed like you were rejuvenated on the few concerts that I seen you in there.
It was fun, man. Listen, even with my own solo thing, I don't care. Even if I'm sitting on a bar stool alone with an acoustic guitar, I'm having fun. I love just fucking with the audience, telling jokes, telling stories, just having fun. You know what I mean? And the Dead Daisies were absolutely, it was a blast. Again, prior to joining the Daisies, I was doing my own thing. My son is my drummer. We were just getting off the ground, going out, doing some really cool stuff. And the Daisies called. And at first I wasn't planning on doing it. But they were like, we'll do this for half the year, and then you can do your thing for half the year, and your thing will help our thing will help your thing. But once I did that first record with them, I don't know what happened, but it just really kind of started blowing up and taking off. And like, there was no time for anything else. Meanwhile, my son is calling me like, Dad, this sucks. I'm doing construction. You're on a Learjet in Japan. Like, come on. When are we going to play some shows again? So I had the guilt, the dad guilt. And then, to be honest with you, right before I joined the Daisies, I just got married. So my wife is like, you know, when am I going to see my husband? And so I left on good terms. Everything's great. But I just told the guys, I said, listen, man, I didn't plan on the touring to being this crazy. Like just, I mean, finish a record, do a couple of weeks of press, rehearsals on the road, finish on the road, couple of weeks off, back in the studio, writing new ideas. And it was just this constant thing. I mean, I think I was with the band for 4 years. And we did two studio albums within the first year that I was in the band. Then we did a live album. Then we did another studio album, and it was constant touring and just crazy stuff. So I just said, hey, you know what? I need to catch my breath for a minute. Maybe spend some time with my wife. She's starting to have conversations with the pool boy, and we don't even own a pool. So let me go home and work on my relationship with my wife and my kids, and just maybe try and do my own thing. So everything's good. I still talk to those guys all the time. The minute I put out Casa Bella, all of them, David, Doug, Glenn Hughes, Dean, Marco, they all wrote to me and said, dude, what a great tune. Congratulations. Good luck with the record, management. So everything's good, man. It's just, it was a little more than I was expecting. You know what I mean?
All right. So is there any set date on when the book will be available, or are you pinpointing it down to a certain time frame?
I think they're looking at a pre-orders like November, December, and then the actual book release, they're looking at early April, mid-April. I want to say April 12th.
Okay. And it's going to be like a separate audio book as well?
Yeah.
Yep.
This company, Rarebird, is kind of, they've put out quite a few books, but they're really cool at these odd little, the audio book thing, but they actually do, like, they'll take parts of the stories and they'll do vinyl and like all this really cool stuff. So I'm excited about it. I just finished the audio book, like I said, Wednesday or Thursday. Now we're just gathering a few pictures and figuring out what the cover should be. But it's ready to go. I'm excited about it.
All right. Well, that's definitely something that I bet you everybody's looking forward to reading that one. So,
well, I don't know if everybody is, but
fan wise,
all 9 of them. As some of the Motley fans that didn't appreciate me being in the thing, they're like, yeah, what's that guy do? Who cares? What's that guy got? 9 fans? Whatever.
You got a lot more fans than you realize, that's for sure.
No, I'm just jesting, but it is what it is,
Yeah, no problem.
Real.
But I definitely appreciate your time here today and filling us in on all this stuff here. And good luck with the book when it comes out and the new songs as you release them here.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Well, appreciate it. You have a great day and take care.